Good evening, everybody. With all my heart, with all my love, I welcome you to our Thursday night Anamkara meditation program. Great that you're joining us this evening, and all the holidays that are going on. People are busy, so thank you for taking the time to bring your sublime presence and the power of your practices to share with our community this evening. So great to be in your company. And this time of year, so many holidays, everything from Buddhist Rahatsu, Happy Hanukkah. We're in the midst of Hanukkah. We have the solstice coming up. We have Christmas coming up. We have Kwanzaa coming up. So a time where over and over we're celebrating the different ways that the infinite makes itself known through various traditions, so that we can have that direct experience. And then it's up to us to realize that in the moment. And that's really what our program is about, is supporting people in the practices that empower us to know the infinite, to know the divine by so many different names, but to know it as the essence of who we are, the truth of who we are. So we start this program, we start the evening with that kind of invocation of that highest intention, that here we are gathered in accord with the highest of the truth of who we are, with the intention of coming to know that completely, because that's what empowers us to relieve the suffering that we experience for ourselves, but also to empower us to relieve the suffering of others. So we think of all the great sages, saints, great beings, from Lao Tzu to Buddha to Christ to Mother Teresa, Saint Teresa, on and on. These beings that served with every fiber of their essence throughout their lives, because having come to know the infinite, being a conduit for that highest truth, that highest realization, that then their entire life dedicated to helping others to know that, helping others be relieved of suffering. So that's the real power that we have innately. Now, it's inherent to each and every one of us. And so the practices are really aimed at getting the mind that gets in the way of knowing that, experiencing that, and living that into the world moment by moment, get that out of the way. So our intention, our aspiration, is to know the highest fully, completely, to be drenched in it, to be in that highest state, whether we call it nirvana, enlightenment, unity consciousness, again, different names. But it's so that we're completely drenched, completely suffused with that awareness, with that knowing, that empowers us to walk that loving compassion, that awareness, that profound patience, that unshakable equanimity, that we have the capacity for walking that into the world. And again, helping to relieve the suffering of all. So it's part of our intention, know that for ourselves, and be dedicated to relieving the suffering of all beings. And it takes us beyond the self-cherishing mind. Because all the different sadhana practices, different traditions, part of what they're aimed at is freeing us from the confines of the ego mind, that little sense of I, right? But that little sense of I is all about itself. It's I, me, mine. What am I doing? What do I have to feel? What do I need? What am I not getting? What am I unhappy about? So when we sit to meditate, very often there's all that stuff bound up by the ego mind and its reactivity that starts to flood our awareness in the moment. So part of what we're cutting through in all sadhana practices is the self-cherishing mind. And this invocation that even the practices that we're doing, that yes, they're going to relieve suffering for ourselves, but it's dedicated to the relief of suffering of all beings, is to cut through that self-cherishing nature of the ego mind. So sadhana practices are really aimed at that. That's why one of the most principal foundational practices is selfless service. We can call it karma yoga, we can call it doing good deeds, but it's the selflessness that we are consciously engaged in, setting aside the little me, I, mine, to say what's needed, what's out there, what do people need, and to be able to shift our attention away from the ego mind and put the ego mind and the body in the service of the highest truth of yourself, the highest truth of all beings, and live that service into the world. So that's what we're doing. And that's why both in meditative practices, we keep shifting away from the mind. The mind is the one that it cherishes everything about what's going on interiorly. So we have to keep setting it aside. So you can see this dynamic of cutting through self-involvement, ego involvement. Isn't just about what happens in meditation. Oh, it's about all day long. Because the more we are selflessly serving, the more we're coming from having that love, compassion, selflessness for others, then we're helping to free ourselves from ego mind all day long. We're helping to set aside its sort of primary narcissism to be present in a very different way and be aligned with, wait a minute, what's going to serve the highest in the moment? How do I listen for that? Have to get the clamorings of the ego mind and its reactivity out of the way so we can hear that inner call. We can hear the voice of the infinite, the divine within, and be able to follow that. So that's what our practice is about. So we start with that highest intention, and then all the practices are aimed at all the different levels on which we are going to be acting on that and going deeper and deeper with that. And so one of the things I wanted to share was actually from Kali's Bazaar. And this is a piece that's on cherishing. It says, cherishing yourself. You cherish your opinions. You have an opinion even about your opinions. But you don't stop there. You have an opinion about your opinion of opinions. This is the self-cherishing mind. How long before you realize you are chasing your tail? Where do you think the stench of the world comes from? Transcend the world, and you're just a gas bag. Live gripped by the world, and you're just a dirt bag. The way is neither here nor there. Not one, not two. Give up thinking about it. Thought goes no further than steam rising from your tea. Give up trying to meditate. Cease all movements to and fro. Your essence is the way. Look no further. A moment has yet to pass when you weren't all. A moment has yet to pass that you weren't all. You're all. You're everything. Already. Here, now, always. We're coming to realize and know what already fully exists. But by being identified with the self-cherishing mind, we can't see it. We see all the thoughts, the feelings, the reactions, all that little I awareness. That's what we're setting aside. So that's what sets us free, is to be able to shift out of that. And then start to come to, oh, where's the stillness? Where's the silence? What's revealed in stillness and silence? Right? And it's not about so much outer noise or movement, it's the inner noise, movement. Because that's the mind. That's the mind. And that's where it gets caught. It gets bound up in its reactions, and its reactions to its reactions to other people's reactions. You know, that's what fills our awareness. That's what grabs our sacred attention. Attention is sacred. Attention, attention, attention. The whole path, any path, is all about attention. And do we have control over our attention? Or is it at the mercy of whatever grabs it? We have entire advertising industries, $1 trillion industry, trying to grab people's attention and hold it to sell them something. So we're constantly giving away the power of our attention to things external and internal that aren't relevant to living and knowing the highest. That's what we come to see. And then we come to see more and more how important it is to come back to stillness, come back to steadiness, that detached awareness. So when we're meditating and we're becoming absorbed in just one thought, Om Namah Shivaya, or Om Kali Ma, an invocation of the highest. Well, then the mind goes, oh, well, what about that other thought? And it wanders off. No, Om Kali Ma. Come back to the divine. Come back to the infinite, the sound form of the infinite. And just as the mantra is a sound form of the infinite, well, yantra. A yantra is a pictorial form, and tankas are pictorial forms of the infinite. They're meant to help engage our attention, because the mind's attention likes to go after form. We give it a form, but these are special forms. Mantra is a special form. Unlike the ordinary thought forms that just keep us scurrying around in the maze of the mind, mantra is a vehicle that comes from the infinite. And when we enter that vehicle by becoming absorbed in it, giving it our attention continuously, it takes us back to source. Source of mind, source of consciousness, source of body, source of everything, source of mantra itself. The silence, the stillness that throbs with the pure awareness of being. Aham, I am. Pure I am. I am that I am. The infinite, the divine, knowing its boundless nature as all that is. That's what we come home to knowing. So we're adding the direct knowledge, the direct experience of infinitude of being to what it is to be finite. The experience of being finite doesn't just disappear. But now, because we're aware of infinitude of being, the finite takes its rightful size and place in awareness, which is pretty small. That shift, that is what sadhana practice is all about. Because the infinite's already present. Oh, and the finite awareness is present. But how do we come to know the infinite when we've been so identified with the finite? That's what we're doing. By saying, oh, practice the awareness. I am the mantra. I am the throb of the mantra. I am the infinite. Aham, I am. Hamsa, I am that. Tattvamasi, thou art that. These great statements, mahavakyas and mantras from the yogic Hindu tradition, all pointing at that reality. And that's what we're trying to shift our attention and awareness out of. And when we start to be able to really take hold of our awareness, then we can shift it away from content of mind to the luminous source of being. And that's facilitated by going into that kind of stillness and silence. Silent night, holy night. We're in the season of all these great traditions and being celebrated for having gone beyond the mind, for having come to know the infinite as their own being, their own nature. So, it's all about stillness. This life, this death, this moment arising, this moment swallowed by Kali Ma. The ever-present stillness of being, infinite, spacious, eternally free. Kali's beloved, Lord Shiva, you and me. Move with that awareness throughout the day, through periods of silence, meditation, and chanting, through walking, eating, speaking, and working. All movement arises out of stillness. Return to stillness over and over and over. And watch the mind. See how it craves movement, how it begs attention to follow its desires and attachments. See how letting go of these immediately opens the experience of spaciousness, of bare awareness. The distant movements of thoughts and perceptions, darting about like fireflies in the night sky. Well, every moment, my dear one, is an opportunity to look beyond the movements of mind which delude you into feeling you are that tiny, ephemeral collection of fireflies. No, the infinite expanse of the sky of awareness. Become a sky dancer. No, you are Shiva, you are Buddha. Om Tat Sat. You are that. That is the truth. That's the truth of who we are. We discover that in that profound stillness and silence. That is the substratum of all existence. The silence out of which movements arise and dissolve. And that's part of what we then adopt, that posture of awareness in meditation. It's the posture of awareness. It says, I can look at the mind and just watch thoughts coming and going, feelings coming and going, reactions coming and going, all with the sense, not me, not mine, just the play of the energy taking forms. It's the very nature of Shakti, the power of consciousness, to create all that moves through that inner sky of awareness that we call mind, that we call me. But, the really profound psychology of yoga pointed out thousands of years ago that the mind and that sense of me, that ego mind, well, that's just a string of thoughts cobbled together by the little I maker, ahamkara. It's just another part of the mind. It says, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. Oh, that's not me. Oh, but I continue over there, and the not me is the one saying that it's not me, and that's me too. And so it's always fabricating, constructing, moment by moment, its sense of self. If it's challenged by something negative, a negative piece of feedback, or somebody says something or looks at us in a way that we don't like, then the ego mind's got to scurry around and sort of repair itself. Go complain to somebody else. Why that person said this and that to me. You're a wonderful being. You should never have been talked to like that. That's all ego repair. That's all the mind's game. So we see this self-cherishing going on all the time. In fact, when we look about the world, most of the problems, they're all about self-cherishing. It's the ego minds of inflated individuals in leadership positions wanting more and more and more for themselves, when truly the world has enough for all of us to flourish together. All of us could flourish together if there weren't so many billionaires and near trillionaires. Self-cherishing. I deserve. I can hoard money. Look at me, I'm great. They sell the entire package. Like, oh, we should look up to people who hoard like that, to the destruction of the earth and to the denigration of people and to the extinction of animals. No, there's nothing laudatory about that at all. That's a myth propagated by those who enjoy the fruits of that kind of delusion. We can cut through it. We can see, no, that's not it. Selfless service, loving compassion. The truly great beings in our human history are the ones who come to know that and live that. So each one of us has that capacity to know the infinite as ourself, to serve it in all beings. Because once we come to know that, we see there's only one being. All this is one. All the embodiment of the infinite. So we come to know, we come to serve, we come to celebrate the experience of that. Now, so in the midst of holidays, that's what we're doing. And so, we had on December 8th, Rohatsu, that the celebration of Buddha's enlightenment. And, we're in the midst of Hanukkah and the celebration of God's grace, bestowing the gift of light and sustaining it, and sustaining the people through that. The Christmas holiday, the birth of the infinite in human form into the world. So these different holidays calling on celebrating the manifestation of the infinite in ways that we can actually perceive. It's not that it's not here all the time. It is all the time. Everything about you, everything you see around you, that is the infinite. But it takes often these great beings and coming in and saying, no, this is it, here. And their message keeps being, no, it's you, it's all within you. And that's what we're invited to know, not to leave it as something in the past, some other time, some other being. No, it's up to each and every one of us to know that and revel in that, to live that. And the practices are all about then setting us free from the self-cherishing mind. It's why, the sitting practice is a practice. Going about the day doing practice like mantra. We can add mantra as a reminder. If we're keeping the practice of japa, just means the repetition of mantra, the silent repetition of mantra. Whether we use a set of beads or we just are repeating it silently throughout the day, it helps keep the mind gathered and helps to hold the perspective that we are trying to cultivate. That it's not just about the ego mind and its reactivity. It's not just about the limited goals and concerns of the ego mind and its self-cherishing and its wanting to be comfortable and wanting to get the things that it's attracted to and avoid the things it's repulsed by or that are painful. That's what dominates the experience of the ordinary mind all the time. We're capable of so much more. We're capable of knowing the infinite, knowing the boundless love, compassion, wisdom, equanimity, walking that into the world, reminding people, this is what we're capable of. This is how precious a human birth is, to make use of this. And then to embrace others through loving service. So that, again, a concrete practice that helps to transform the ego mind from being a master, a very poor one, into the servant of the infinite that is really designed to be, to serve the living presence that is you, that you come to know in your being. So we do the meditation practices to become absorbed in that, but it's to become absorbed in what's here and now always. Why do we practice in stillness and silence? It's only because the mind so goes after movements. A thought is a movement. A perception is a movement. An idea is a movement. A memory is a movement. Your mind is constantly going after movements. The last thing it wants is to be still. Until it gets so exhausted at the end of the day, it can't go after any more movements and it falls unconscious in bed. Gets up the next day, starts it all over again. So meditative path. Oh, that's saying, wait a minute. We have to go past that. We have to both transform the mind and transcend the mind. We have to transform the mind into being the servant of love, compassion, kindness, patience, peace. That's how the mind is then remade to serve the infinite, the divine. And that's the kind of practices that fills our day. Because yes, we're householders. We live in the world. We act in the world. We act in relationships. But to be informed by that level of knowing is then to make that all sacred practice. All a reflection of, oh, where's my mind now? Who did I become? How do I serve better? Where's that impulse for loving, compassion, kindness, and selflessness? How do I become attuned to that? How do I react with that? How do I so transform the mind and its reactivity that now its reaction is to be, offering peace, offering love, offering blessings, offering kindness, offering wisdom. Very different than the ordinary reactive mind that is all about I, me, mine. So the living practices of yoga and meditation is selflessness, selfless service. That's, in terms of practices, that's the practice you do the most. That's the practice that we spend the most time on. And the fruits of it are we get freer and freer of the ordinary mind and its reactivity and its self-cherishing. And we start to be able to see more and more clearly, feel that call to where's that patience, where's that kindness. We start to see the conditioning that came from the past, came from our parents, came from society, came from teachers, coaches, whatever they might be. We're setting all of that aside and say, wait a minute, there's an inherent, sublime impulse to love, to know, to see past where the other person is caught in their mind, and to see their radiance, their true nature that's here and now, always. If we don't see it, it's our own blinders. Because it's always present, right? So we're taking responsibility for not seeing, doing the work, doing the practices to remove the blinders so we can see. In the worst of the people on the earth as well as the best. Easy to see it in saintly beings, but to see that just the other side of the horrible conditioning and afflicted nature of people who are acting out so abysmally right now, that's a spiritual practice. That builds spiritual muscle in our psyche. To look past that. It's not that we look past it and say, oh, the negative stuff isn't there, and they shouldn't be accountable for it and held responsible and removed from power or whatever it might be. All that's true, right? It's seeing that they are still the divine. Just as you, no matter what you're doing, you are always purely, sublimely divine. It's the ignorance, not seeing, not knowing, that makes us act and flail about in pain and create pain and suffering for ourselves and others. And the emptier and more blind a person is to that truth, the more they act out, the more pain and suffering they create for humans, for all beings on the planet. So it's all about cutting through ignorance, coming home to the truth of who we are. Whether we call that truth our Buddha nature, our Christ nature, supreme consciousness, the self, the transcendent self, any name. It's the infinite, sublime nature of being. It's the ground of our being. And because it's inherent, each and every one of us can come to know that. Just as all the great sages and saints as humans came to know it. We are endowed with that same capacity. And the light of grace is illuminating our way always if we turn to it. If we turn to the mind, we're just going to be caught in the mind. So we do the practices in order to shift our attention. Again, attention, attention, attention. As we think, so we become, said Buddha 2,500 years ago. And we inhabit the thoughts. The thoughts become our character, they become our actions, they dominate our body, speech, and mind. And so all that stuff is what we're clearing out by doing selfless service, by meditating, by contemplating, by living ethically and aligned with the highest truths. All of that comes together in that way to set us free so that we can come to know the fullness of the truth of who we are, and then serve as a conduit to help relieve the suffering of all beings in little ways and great ways, whatever we're called upon, whatever we're given to do in the moment. we can respond with that loving compassion and the abundance of that. Because those qualities of the infinite are infinite. The mind has little bits of it. So we can run out of patience for the mind. We can run out of generosity for the mind, because that's the nature of the little mind. Oh, but drown the mind in the infinite and you will know. You will know. That boundless source is you, inexhaustible. Your love, all-embracing. Your patience, inexhaustible. Your kindness, enveloping. Your rapturous joy, untainted by the world. Your equanimity, untouched by the world. Because it's a root quality of the infinitude of being. That's what we're coming home to know. All of that, just the other side of the mind, in identification with the mind. So in this time of the year when we're celebrating in so many ways the light of the infinite, taking birth in the world, coming back after the winter solstice and return of the light, the enlightenment of Buddha, all these different ways that symbolically we cherish the living presence of light, a symbol of that light of consciousness that illumines everything with loving compassion. That's what we're coming home to, right? That's what we're celebrating. That's what we're doing moment by moment, day by day, as meditators, as people dedicated to the path of meditation and living the fruits of it into the world, and seeing our everyday activities as an opportunity to be able to serve and be able to express that, as well as an opportunity to be able to confront the grasping of the mind, the limitations of the mind. But when we can watch the mind from the perspective of our own divine self, then we're just seeing the mind and its afflicted nature and able to see it very clearly, because we don't have to turn away out of shame, right? So much happens out of shame and blame that makes us go blind, that makes us go into denial. This is the infinite illumination saying, no, you're all born of love, right? And yes, this instrument isn't acting in congruence with that. So let's just see that and help tune it up. This loving compassion, the loving embrace, the recognition that you are sublime, no matter what the mind is doing, right? It creates pain. You don't want to do that. But its pain doesn't make you less divine. You can never be diminished in the essential divinity of who you are. To see that, to know that, oh, that frees us, empowers us to look at the mind unflinchingly. To be able to see, oh, look at it's caught there. Oh, there's a pattern. Oh, I can see where that evolved from. Now I need to cultivate a different way of doing it. I need to transform my self-talk. I need to transform my patterns and behaviors of interacting with others. We're able to see it and then really engage in the transformative process that remakes this mind-body vehicle into what it's capable of, being a sublime servant of the infinite, a creation of the infinite to serve the infinite as all. That's you. That's what you're capable of. That's what our practices are all aimed at knowing and living the joy of that, living the love of that, living the embrace of that. So that's what we're doing. Right? And so what we're going to do now is we're going to be chanting for a few minutes and as a way of helping to invoke that. And we're going to be chanting, we're going to be invoking the Great Mother, Om Kali Ma, right? It's going to be Om Kali Durga Namo Namah. So Kali and Durga, two names for the Great Mother. And this is the time when we're celebrating. We celebrate Mother Mary and giving birth. Well, the mother gives birth to all forms. We celebrate Buddha's enlightenment, right? Rahatsu, December 8th. Who's the mother of all Buddhas? Ah, Bhagavati Mahaprajna Paramita. It's the mother who gives birth to the Buddhas. It's the mother who gave birth to Christ. The mother of all forms. Ah, she's our mother. She's the essence of who we are. The creator of who we are. The creator of all that is. All that is her energy. Some very concrete, some as open and spacious as the entire cosmos. We come to know that. We come to live in that. We come to revel in that. That's where our practices take us, so that we can start, we may only know it intermittently. And then we're discovering that, well, no, it's not intermittent. Our attention and awareness that we give to becoming absorbed in it, that's what's intermittent. The divine's always present. But we keep turning our attention to this thought, that feeling, I, me, mind, little I awareness. That's what we keep turning away from. To see the eternal continuity of the living presence of the infinite. That's what we're capable of. So we'll be chanting now for a few minutes, and then we'll just sit in the stillness, in the silence, and watch. Watch the mind and feed it the mantra so that it's repeating mantra. But even the sound of mantra arises out of stillness, dissolves into stillness. If it dissolves into stillness and nothing else arises, stay there. Now, usually when that first happens, or the first 10,000 times it happens, you dissolve into stillness, you go, and then the mind goes, I'm in stillness. Of course, that's another movement. We have to come back to mantra. But stillness deepens and absorbs all until we see it as the very substratum of existence. Because in that stillness, in that silence, the infinitude of being, luminous, radiant, always present. Revel in that. So we'll chant, and then we'll sit in the stillness. Here we go. Om Kali Durge Ma. 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 And we end with this prayer. And may all our practices truly benefit everyone. May all beings know complete freedom from suffering. May the power and the merit of all the practices we do, whether here this evening or at home, go to help relieving the suffering of all beings. And may we attain the highest so we can be fully empowered to relieve the suffering of all beings. Om Kali Ma. Om Kali Ma. So we celebrate her taking the form of light, luminous, eternal, illuminating the truth of being, the truth of reality, of creation. She is the one who has illuminated all minds. Lao Tzu, illuminating his mind through knowing the Tao. And him saying, the Tao that can be spoken of is not the Tao. That level of reality is ineffable, beyond the mind, beyond words, beyond it all. Illuminating Buddha's mind, so Buddha could see past all the categories of experience and see that infinite radiant field of awareness suffused with the four immeasurables, the boundless love, compassion, wisdom, rapturous joy. It's beyond words, beyond the mind. Gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi, swaha, gone, beyond it all, fully beyond. Hail the goer, that's you. You embody that knowing. The same light that illuminated the consciousness of Christ, so we'd know that I and my Father are one, and that the kingdom of heaven is spread out before us, but we just don't see it. Why? Because we're identified with the little mind. Over and over we get caught. This thought, that thought, me, I, mine. Put that aside. The luminous one is there. It's Meister Eckhart saying, to know God, you have to become God. What does that mean? It means you have to let go of the becoming the ego mind, becoming the little individual, the self, all the time. You enter that in the stillness, in the silence. That's where you just dissolve into the truth of who you are, the eternal presence of the infinite, the divine. It's what caused St. Catherine of Genoa to proclaim, there is no other me. I recognize no other me than God himself. Become God realized, become infinite realized, become enlightened. Why do we call it enlightened? It's to be filled with the knowledge, the direct experience, the light of the one that has become all and yet remains luminous, infinite, free. Know that. That's what we're called upon. So when we celebrate the many ways in this month that the light has revealed itself, always take that as a reflection of what's inside. Go inside. Know it there. That I am the light. That arises spontaneously. That awareness. Not the ego mind getting inflated. No, this is beyond the mind. It's the other side of the mind. The mind, in that presence, falls to its knees. in humility, in awe, in reverence. That's the posture of awareness of the ego mind. Become the servant, the pure, loving servant who sees all as divine, all worthy of love, compassion, sees the world, sees what we can all flourish together when we know that, when we've set aside the self-cherishing mind and all the destruction and pain and suffering it creates for ourselves, for others, for the world. We're called to that. That's what it means to walk the path of meditation, the path of mystics of all tradition, to go into direct experience, direct knowing, and let that inform your every breath, every beat of your heart unfolds in knowing. Become grounded in knowing. Abide in knowing. Don't abandon knowing. That's why we have to have that commitment to say, no, knowing the infinite is my highest priority. My total commitment goes to that. Because anything else takes your attention away and you're going to become that. You're going to become limited. You're going to become bound. You're going to experience the karmas of that. Moment by moment, we choose where does our attention, our awareness rest. Let it rest in the infinite, the boundless love, compassion, wisdom, and grace, here, now, always. So for that, we gather together to do the practices, to come to know that, live that, experience that moment by moment. So I want to thank you for being ones doing that, all in your own ways, in your own lives, and coming together and sharing the power of your presence and commitment to practice. Though we may seem to be in different places, that's the ego mind identifying with, oh, there's a limited body, it's only here and not there. That's not consciousness. That's not the truth of who you are. You are all, everywhere. We are one in that field of consciousness, here, now, always. Come to know that, revel in that. That's what we're capable of. So thank you for being ones doing that and bringing that into this troubled world that needs that kind of wisdom, love, and compassion, and the vision of us all flourishing together and working together to make that happen. So thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the many ways that you support Anamkara and the work that we do, just to share these ancient practices and teachings that empower people to live from the truth of who they are. Once again, with all my heart, with all my love, thank you for joining us this evening, and walk in the light of your own consciousness. It illuminates everything about you. Even your own thoughts, here and now, are only known by that living presence of the light of awareness. It illuminates everything about you. Shift from content to the source, the light itself. Come to know that. That's the truth of who you are.